Yeah, a word that just came up for me is disease or illness. And as you're describing this new energetic living system of our bodies, is there still room for, the current chronic illnesses that we have in society?
One of the things that I've experienced with going up with my teams is that when I look at them, they are immaculate. And I know that's a very odd word to use because it's used in all sorts of, genres and contexts. But what I would say is that they're the ones that have more of that they have a physicality, but it's not a physicality like we know it. The beings that I've worked with that have what I perceive as being a body. It glows. It has this effervescence. It doesn't function the same way that we do. The living intelligent light within their bodies organizes everything and optimizes everything for perfect flow and function, because that's the nature of the living intelligence within them. And that's the nature of the source within us. Now, the trouble is with humanity, because we've experienced such a diminishing as part of this experience or experiment of what would it be like to experience separation or the apparency of no source, no connection to source. I mean, that's not actually possible, but you can diminish it like to a point where you think you've got no connection and there's nothing there. Now, what happens is it's like a photocopier. So if you put a photocopy, a beautiful page of text into a photocopier, and you press go and you take that page out, and you're going to take that page again and you're going to put that into the photocopier, and you're going to take a copy of that. You take that output, put that, and you keep repeating that cycle. It degrades and degrades and degrades because there's no intelligence correcting the errors as it gets copied. Okay. And in a very similar way, what my teams have said is that, because of the lack of source intelligence within the human body, cells now have to refer to a previous generation of cells in order to get their instructions of division and how they divide. And there's only so many divisions they can do before they stop. But when I look at these beings, these high dimensional beings, the living light inside them literally immaculately performs all biological processes they need without error, without problems. And this, I believe, as humanity really starts to open up its heart center and really lets the infusion of that source intelligence through, lets the infusion into cells, lets the infusion into even the subatomic particles and particles, the atoms, the molecules, the chains, the DNA, everything that comprises and makes up eventually the cellular system or the structure you call your human body. I believe, everything is going to change, and it's going to be an amazing future. It really is. And this is why I say to people, it's one of the beautiful things about it. It's already all inside you. You have no dependence on anything outside you. You don't require anything outside of you to do it. You just need the practice, the opening, the connection inside, the willingness to really open up and allow the infusion of your higher self, your source self, to come in and work with you and start to bridge that infusion in. So that's the way I would choose to describe it.
What holds us back from fully opening the perception of our heart?
That's you have some really good questions. I think it's multifaceted. One of the things that my teams and the Infinite Source Intelligence that I work with have said is that humanity has what they refer to as the fortress. Now, the fortress is a combination of many lifetimes of traumas, false belief systems, misappropriated energetics where we've created out of reaction or fear or something like that. All of it is added to this sponge that's just soaked up repeated experiences of all these low energetics that forms this sort of barrier or cocoon around us. Now, one of the other things is to do with, because of that sort of walking down that path that humanity has taken, and the ever diminishing access to source intelligence, the intelligence of compassion starts to fall down. The intelligence of joy and wonder and delight and the wish for others to experience that too starts to fall down. Suddenly, you now start to move in a very self-centric, survivalistic, everyone's out for themselves, as through the dark ages going on, and we're coming out of that now. But that was very prevalent. That was a very big part of societies around the world for a long time. And so there's a lot of harshness that had been created during those times. And these are old patterns, old fragments from way, way past. And what it does, it taught people that, oh my goodness, if you open your heart, my goodness, you're somehow welcoming somebody to hurt you. And it's nothing could be more opposite than that. What you're doing is you're beginning a transformation to dissolve all of those energetics that ping up when somebody misbehaves to you and makes you feel that you're being hurt. When in fact, in some of the texts, a lot of people speak about the masters that, they had no reaction. They were just this pure delight of joy. They would smile. Even if you were shouting the most awful things at them, they couldn't be triggered because they have nothing inside them to be triggered. They don't have the layers of the trauma and the dross that suddenly rushes to the surface when somebody says a key word or this or that, so that they can simply stay in their center. And now as you practice to learn, this is one of the big things that my team said to me, as you practice the art of learning how you react to people with your feelings, your thoughts, and notice if somebody says something to you and you go, oh, I don't like that. What is it you're feeling right now? Just hold that for a second, hold that feeling, feel that energy, because as you feel it, you're now gaining access to it because it was lying there dormant deep in your cellular structure, deep in your whole makeup, just lying there, giving off these emanations and helping to create your reality with problems. Now, suddenly if somebody comes along and says, whoa, okay, I had that reaction. Where's that coming? Let me just feel that for a second. Okay. And as you feel it, because the biggest problem is that people have pushed this stuff into their unconscious, and the unconscious is like the garbage dumping ground of everything we don't want to face, fear to face, or just want to push away. And so that sits down there, but it's still broadcasting. It's still emanating. And so people wonder, why do I keep getting that person or people like that person in my life or this experience keep happening again and again? Well, it's because you're requesting it again and again, because the stuff we have in our unconscious is still broadcasting. You are still requesting energetically a repeat of that experience because that's what the fields respond to, your emanation. That's a very, very big key point. That's something I had to learn, that I guess that by being thrown in the deep end in my earlier days, because you keep banging your head against the wall, and eventually said, do you understand now? Every experience you have shows you something about your own energy nature, what you are requesting, what type of experience you are requesting, the people you are requesting. So when you learn the art form of, okay, instead of just going off and, reacting and blasting back, I'm going to say, okay, okay, so this is coming up now, and this is clearly somehow, I don't know how, but I've requested this to happen. And so the energies that are coming up are really the thing that I need to look at. When you breathe into that energy and let it sit, it shakes loose. And now as you breathe out, you can exhaust it and get rid of it and literally pump it out and use the breath as a pull it up, get rid of it, blow it out. And as you keep pumping and blowing, eventually you exhaust the traces of those energies that were broadcasting that got triggered. And now suddenly they're gone. You have that experience again. You don't have that reaction anymore because you've just gotten rid of those explosive energies that were hiding down in your unconscious or your subconscious. And now you can respond in a different way. And that's one of the big things that I've had to learn many, many times that my teams, the Arcturians, my higher self, the Pleiadians, have very gently and very peacefully tried to remind me and they had to teach me many times. I didn't get it first off. So if anybody's thinking, this is hard, it's an art form. It's because you're unlearning old humanity habits of reaction. And instead you're going to consider energy awareness. It's very different. So you're becoming aware of your energies, the energies you hold, and the energy of your body, the energy of your consciousness, all of it together. And you're becoming aware of, okay, right, so I really don't want that experience again. So I'm going to release those energetics. So I no longer broadcast and therefore request that experience. And I'm going to change that and have my higher self fill that space with my true energy. So now I'm broadcasting that in that space instead. And as you keep working through those reactions and allow the energies to come up, you are step by step working towards the integration with, the infusion with your higher self or your source self. And that is one of the processes we go. I know there's very many different ways that people do it. This is just the way that I've learned to do it. But, I would always encourage people, make it your own, play with it, but never, ever be afraid of the reaction sensations. Like one of the big things in the spiritual community is, oh, I mustn't feel anger. No, that's bad. No, that's not spiritual. It's an energy you have inside you. It's simply something that needs to come up and be released. It's just an energy. It's about really being, and this is one of the things that the teams were very, very prominent with me on, being crystal clear with yourself is one of the massive steps that humanity has to take and can take. When you are absolutely honest with yourself about who you are, what you feel, how you feel, what you're thinking, without pushing anything to the side, and then can make a conscious choice. Okay, so this is happening. Yeah, I don't like the feeling of that, but I can change this. So where is it coming from? I can release that. I can infuse that space that's left behind with my high self. I can then move closer to my high self, because now you're becoming a response-able energetic being, a responsible energetic being, because you're now able to respond intelligently rather than react. And that's a big trouble with humanity. People are always reacting rather than responding. It's a very, very different environment. I know that sounds a bit preachy. I'm not trying to be preachy here, but just share some of the insights that I've gained, because I've hit my head so many times on the wall of going through these and eventually got it and had the aha moments and realized the beautiful, gentle, graceful way the beings would come and say, great. You see it now. Now, go forward with that and learn to go higher and deeper with that art form that you've just learned, because it will really accelerate you, beyond all the troubles and tribulations and trials that we go through, that keep repeating and wondering why this keeps happening to me, Well, it's because, there's just things within you that you are requesting the experience that you're not yet aware of. But if you allow that experience to trigger up within you the energies that are requesting it, then you can clear them and be free of that cycle.